Friends, seekers, and those who simply yearn for a quiet heart, let us turn our minds today to a topic that is both ancient and profoundly relevant: the search for peace and the practice of sufficiency within a world of relentless wanting. We strive for goodness, we pursue comfort, yet no matter how much we acquire, there remains a subtle, persistent ache, a feeling that if we just had one more thing, one more achievement, or one more level of recognition, we would finally be complete. This ache is the core of our suffering. The Buddha called this fire Taṇhā, the thirst, the great craving that consumes the human heart. You seek permanence in the transient and sufficiency in the external. This is the grand illusion we must dismantle. Consider the traveler lost in the desert, tormented by thirst. He stumbles upon a seemingly infinite pool of water, seawater. He drinks deeply, believing the abundance will save him. But the more he drinks, the more agonizing his thirst becomes. He grows weaker, his suffering magnified by the very thing he sought for salvation. The temptations of the world, the promise of endless consumption, the allure of status, the rush of sensual pleasure, are like this salt water. They are defined by their capacity to create the need for more. When the world whispers, "Acquire this," it is not offering satisfaction, it is issuing an invitation to a deeper, more agonizing thirst. This craving is not a single simple thing. It manifests in three cunning forms, each perfectly adapted to ensnare the unwary mind. The three snares of craving. First, there is kama taṇhā, the lure of novelty. This is the craving for sensual experience and continuous stimulation. Think of the modern person, pursuing the latest spectacle, the newest flavor, the most advanced device. We buy the object not for its utility, but for the feeling of newness it momentarily promises. But newness, by its nature, instantly begins to decay. The feeling lasts only a breath. And as the initial shine fades, the mind is already looking past the object, impatiently seeking the next sensation, trapped in an endless cycle of upgrades and replacements. This is the perpetual dissatisfaction of the moment, desperately seeking completion outside itself. Second, we encounter bhava taṇhā, the thirst for becoming. This is the ambition of the ego, the desperate desire for status, identity, and importance. It is the craving to be something, the successful, the influential, the irreplaceable expert. This craving fuels endless comparison. The person who pursues a position of high honor does so not merely for the duties of the position, but for the fleeting relief from the fear of being unimportant. This craving is a heavy cloak of self-definition that suffocates the heart, for when the status is threatened, the mind collapses into fear and bitterness. The thirst here is not for happiness, but for a permanent elevated self that fundamentally does not exist. Finally, there is vibhava taṇhā, the craving for annihilation. When the pain of the first two cravings becomes too great, when the objects disappoint and the identity fails, the heart seeks to end the suffering through escape, to numb, to forget, to disappear. This is the withdrawal into distraction, the avoidance of stillness, the desperate search for oblivion. This too is craving, cleverly disguised as resignation. It is an attempt to achieve peace by destroying the experience, rather than by perfecting the perception of the experience itself. The inner spring of Santosha, contentment. If the pursuit of the external is the salt water of suffering, where then lies the true spring? The spring is within the practice of Santosha, deep, unshakable contentment. Contentment is not apathy, nor is it resignation to failure. It is the profound, active wisdom that recognizes the perfect, sufficient nature of the present moment. It is the realization that the mind, unbound by the necessity of acquiring more, is free to appreciate what already is. Imagine the parable of the empty boat. A person is sitting in their small boat on a tranquil lake. They are watching the sunset. Suddenly, another boat, drifting empty, bumps hard into theirs. Their first impulse is irritation, anger. Who is steering this thing so carelessly? They are ready to shout a reprimand across the water. But then they realize the boat is empty. There is no one to blame. The irritation immediately dissolves, replaced by calm. The objects of temptation are like that empty boat. They only cause irritation and desire when you assign a self or a goal to them. When you realize they are merely transient forms, empty of permanent meaning, empty of lasting satisfaction, they cease to be temptations and become simply phenomena. To reach this quiet place, we train the heart in 3 essential recognitions. First, the recognition of sufficiency. Understand that your true needs are few: simple food, adequate shelter, a healthy body, and the company of noble friends. The rest is luxury, often disastrously mistaken for necessity. When a powerful temptation arises, the mind practicing Santosha asks 2 core questions. Does this object increase my happiness, or merely increase my comparison to others? And does this object alleviate my suffering, or merely distract me from its true source? True contentment is the cessation of the internal bargaining, the constant calculation of what is lacking. Second, the recognition of non-self, anatta. The temptation gains its power from the self that desires it. If I believe I am a person who needs validation, then validation becomes an absolute necessity for my emotional survival. But when the desire for the latest gadget appears, instead of saying, "I want that," learn to simply observe. A thought of wanting the latest gadget has arisen in the mind. By viewing the desire as an impermanent, impersonal event, a cloud passing in the sky of consciousness, you disarm its power. When there is no permanent self to be inflated by fame, fame is merely air. Third, the recognition of impermanence, anicca. Temptations promise eternal delight, but every pleasure, every possession carries within it the seed of its own dissolution. The highest compliment fades, the greatest achievement is superseded, the most beautiful object begins to decay. Contentment is built upon the truth of change. When you accept that the peak of pleasure is already the beginning of its decline, you cease to hold it so tightly. You enjoy it fully without the foolish expectation that it will satisfy the endless thirst. This acceptance of anicca is the foundation of peace. To overcome the immediate pull of temptation, one must employ practical shields derived from the Noble Eightfold Path. 1. Right view as the lamp. This is the clear understanding of the 4 noble truths. When a powerful temptation arises, a sudden opportunity for dishonest gain or a forbidden indulgence, the mind must immediately recall, this craving is the cause of suffering, and this moment of pleasure will lead to future entanglement. This clarity acts as a powerful brake on impulse, reminding you of the greater goal. 2. Right livelihood as the barrier. Temptation often comes through the path of one's work. Many seek to accumulate vast sums through means that involve harm, deception, or the relentless exploitation of others. Right livelihood ensures that the path by which you sustain yourself does not require you to nourish the fire of craving in yourself or others. A person whose livelihood requires constant manipulation, advertising the illusion of satisfaction, is perpetually fueling their own internal craving. The choice of a noble path eliminates a great source of daily temptation. 3. Deliberate simplification, apichata. Do not wait for temptation to strike. Actively reduce the complexity of your life. The less you possess, the less you fear to lose. The fewer commitments you have, the fewer demands drain your mental energy. Consider the person who is linked to the outside world by 1,000 notifications, screens, and voices. The mind becomes a marketplace. Deliberate simplification is the act of sweeping the mind clean, reducing the sources of sensory input so that the quiet voice of contentment can be heard. Simplicity is the practice of preemptive contentment. 4. Guarding the sense doors. Indriya Samvara. Your senses are the gates through which temptation enters the city of the mind. When you encounter an appealing sight, a beautiful object, a tempting social media profile, do not allow the mind to attach itself to the form. Do not follow the chain. Sight, recognition, feeling, craving, grasping. Instead, observe the sight simply as color, shape, light. Break the chain early. See the temptation as just an arrangement of temporary elements. By guarding the sense doors, you keep the heart quiet and undisturbed. 5. Cultivating the 4 sublime states, Brahma Viharas. The best defense against selfish craving is to replace it with selfless love. When the heart is filled with metta, loving kindness, karuna, compassion, mudita, sympathetic joy, and upekkha, equanimity, there is no space left for the small, grasping demands of the ego. A person tempted by greed to hoard resources cannot simultaneously feel deep compassion for those in need. A heart filled with sympathetic joy for another's success is immune to the temptation of jealousy. The practice of these sublime states cleanses the mind, removing the fertile soil in which temptation takes root. The mind that is truly content, the heart that is unshakable, does not merely resist temptation. It sees the temptation for the emptiness it is. It sees that the promise of the external is always the promise of a future state. But the present moment, the only moment that is real, is always complete as it is. Imagine a man carrying a heavy basket of stones across a field, convinced that only by reaching a mythical city can his burden be lifted. He struggles, gasping under the weight, his eyes fixed on the distant horizon. The wise one, practicing Santosha, sits in the middle of that field. He simply sets the basket down. He sees that the basket was always unnecessary. The relief was not in the city, but in the decision to release the burden, the cessation of the pursuit. The enough you seek is not an amount of money, a level of fame, or a degree of pleasure. The enough is the absence of the desire for more. This is the ultimate freedom. The world may rage with its temptations, its shiny advertisements, its endless news cycles, its calls for constant comparison and consumption. But the heart that has found Santosha remains quiet, unperturbed, and sufficient. It is a flame that does not flicker because it demands no fuel from the outside world. Go forth and practice this teaching diligently. Do not seek to satisfy the thirst. Seek to recognize the thirst as illusion. Let go of the need for the future to be different from the present. Let go of the need for the self to be different from what it is. When the heart is unshakable, it is forever at peace